What up, y'all? I am Vegas. This is One2FlowOn. Now, this isn't something that's like a new trend or anything of that nature, because it's happened throughout history with numerous genres, not just hip hop. But it's something that kind of bothers me, you know? Like, obviously, at once upon a time, we all had points in time where we were younger. I hope so. But, you know, you looked at music differently. You know what I'm saying? You looked at what was trending and things like that. And you kind of based your opinion off of your friends and, you know, what sound hot to you. You know, it's just a combination of different things when you're younger. When you're older and you've kind of seen a lot of it, you know, certain things that might have impressed you when you were younger don't really impress you that much now. And that goes the same for movies and stuff like that. Like, remember the first time we saw The Matrix and we saw some of the special effects and, you know, the slowing down the bullet time, whatever they call it, you know, that was ill. But if we watch it now, it doesn't really have an impact unless it's something dope within the context of the story. Well, with hip hop, it's kind of the same thing. Now I see more and more online where people go and revisit classic albums and then start to question whether or not they were actually classic. That's a problem. You know why? Because when you go look back at Star Wars, here's an even better example. Anybody who was around for the first Terminator movie, if you go back and watch that, and I think it's on Netflix, you don't even have to watch the whole movie. You go back and watch some of it, especially compared to Terminator 2, which came out a couple of years later. It does not hold up well at all. But the thing is like, well, does it stop being a classic because it doesn't look as good and it's not as entertaining as it was to audiences back then? No. So when you look back at hip hop and you look at classic albums that don't hold up as well, you got to think about the enhancements in productions, the advancements in lyrical skill and songwriting. If you're looking at a particular artist, for example, like a Jay-Z, some say he's regressed. But is that because he was better back then, or some people say he's better now because of what he talks about? Nah, you have to go back in some respects. Like, we don't have time machines, you know, we can't take ourselves back in time, but thank God, you know, you have the internet, because you can look at the context of what was going on. You can look at magazine articles from back then and how they reviewed them and whether they were right. You can look at other albums that were released and other things that were going on in society in general. You can get a very good idea of at least the climate of music at the time something was released. So I remember when Doggy Style and Illmatic were the two probably the most highly anticipated albums in hip hop at the time. And I remember reading that in a newspaper article. And back then, before Biggie and Tupac, you know, died, newspaper articles typically did not cover hip hop like that. But this was something that, you know, it was big. You know what I'm saying? You had Snoop was, of course, highly anticipated coming off the Chronic, and Nas was this newcomer who had basically the cosign of every hot producer, and this was the first time you had every hot producer in the game producing on one album that wasn't their artist. You know what I'm saying? Pete Rock produced for everybody, but mostly remixes for the most part. But, you know, you thought of Pete Rock with Pete Rock and Seal Smooth. When you thought of Pete Rock, you thought of DJ Premier with Gangstar. You know, like, you thought of Large Professor with Main Source. Like, so you Q-Tip with A Tribe Called Quest. And yes, obviously they've done production for other cats, but before Illmatic, you never had an album that's just featured an all-star list of producers. But that's probably not evident if you're younger and you just hit play and you hear that intro and then you hear New York State of Mind, and it's kind of like, I don't see the magic. Where's the magic? But it's hard to get that in 2018. Why? Because since then, Nas has had good albums, whack albums, a battle with Jay-Z, Lost Money, Made Money, Married to Khalees. Some people look at Nas way differently. Even people who were available or around back then look at Nas differently. They don't look at him as the same in the projects with the army fatigues on. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same. And if you wasn't around for it, then you look at him like, you know, well, maybe you only really know him from Life is Good. Maybe that's your intro to Nas. Or maybe Stillmatic was your real intro to Nas. Revisionist history. People take out what they don't like so they can just have a nostalgic memory of what they like only. And that memory is false because it didn't happen. You know, I could go back and listen to Public Enemy's It Takes a Nation of Millions, and I could tell you how great that album is, but it's a very different time. Who knows if it really resonates with you? But I will say that's probably one of those albums that would resonate because of the messages. And you can't get past those messages because those messages are still relevant to this day. Same example, Rakim. People call Rakim the God. I do. You know what I'm saying? But all of that is really off the strength of Paid in Full, which is Eric B. and Rakim's best album by a long shot. Why? Because the other albums aren't really that great. They really contain anywhere from 3 to maybe 4 good records on each album. Some containing 2, some containing 3. The catalog isn't bulletproof. The catalog is kind of weak when you look at it. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you go back and look at classic albums and say they're not classic because they don't really hold up to this day? Are you a person who wants to revise history to say Stillmatic wasn't as dope? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I am Vegas. I am not a critic. I'm a fan.
Drop it on the random.